Ruth, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, we've been having people watch us as we've been doing this series, and they always ask, so how do we do this? You have to tell us how to do this, which we're going to get to later on in the show. But let's start with a review of the core concepts of metapsychiatry.
Some of those wonderful ideas that we've been talking about,
Yes.
such as PEGAL, which stands for peace, assurance, gratitude, and love. And it's a wonderful acronym to understand because it lets us know that we are actually living in harmony with divine reality, that we're in alignment with what really is.
Well, what it also does is it says, don't do anything until you're in that alignment, until you're in that experience.
Yes.
That's the only place from which harmony will flow.
That's right. It is harmony, actually. So that leads to the PEGAL principle. The PEGAL principle being a way for us to know whether the choices and decisions we're making in life are actually going to turn out well. So that if we can be aware of seeking to be aware of PEGAL, then about an idea that we're considering, a new job, a place to move, anything, little things to big things, and if there's a sense of PEGAL around it, then we can go in that direction, assured that probably the outcome will be good. The second half of the PEGAL principle says, by the fruits ye shall know them. So we have to be waiting for the outcome before we're assured that, in fact, the idea, that was real PEGAL around that idea.
Well, you know, that's really the sum total of everything right there. If someone understands that and lives that, that's it.
Yes.
But then what else? The other core concepts help support our ability to realize that that's true.
Yes, because PEGAL actually, the words, the values here are spiritual values. So this is what's important to understand. This is the essential nature of our being. We are actually PEGAL. We are harmony. We are joy. We are goodness. We are love. We are intelligent. That's what we are. We are one with divine reality. So that leads us to understand what we mean when we say we are a spiritual being or a divine consciousness. It's a consciousness that is aware of divine reality, aware of spiritual values. Spirit meaning non-material substance.
That the essence of who we are, first and foremost, is non-material.
Is non-material.
That we are these spiritual qualities playing out, would you say, or living through this physical...
Manifesting through us,
yes.
Or expressing through us, or
as
being
physical
reflected
beings.
through us. As, yes, because we are still in the body, in that sense that there's flesh and blood here. But that's not the essence of our being. What's important to understand is that we are a consciousness capable of being aware of divine reality, of aware of these spiritual values, which are actually, they're not sensations, they're not feelings, they're not even thoughts. They are realities. And we can become aware of these realities. It's a whole different way of seeing our life.
Yes, they have a completely different quality to them.
Completely.
And we can be aware of it because it's there all the time. It's not that you think about it, it's that you're aware that that's present.
Yes, it's moving from being a thought. We can think about it in that sense, but we can't actually know it until we become aware of it. So we can realize that these are actually real.
So then what else? What other concepts help us understand this?
Well, that leads us to understanding what is the nature of reality and what is our word for it. And of course, it's often referred to as God. And metapsychiatry sheds some new light on it by introducing the idea of omniactive love intelligence, which we spoke about in one of the programs. Omniactive love intelligence or love and intelligence are the primary attributes of reality, along with the other values that we have talked about. So what is love? We defined it as non-personal, non-conditional benevolence, which is different from human love, so it's non-dual.
And it's that this love intelligence actually has what would you call it, an implanted intentionality, a natural, what would you refer to?
A built-in intentionality.
A built-in intentionality.
To be revealed.
Yes.
And it's through mankind that it is revealed.
And so this intentionality, that is the force, what we would call the force of God, the force of love intelligence, acting through our consciousness through these divine qualities.
Yes, yes. And intelligence too, so we define that as well as the ability to receive and to utilize and to communicate ideas in a clear and concise way. So love intelligence seems to be the most important thing for us to understand about what God is. So we can say that God is this, whatever word we want to use for it, because we appreciate all the words, because each one of them points to some aspect of reality.
One of these divine qualities.
Yes, or speaking of divine mind, or the higher power, or the higher mind of our minds. There are lots of different words that people use to describe it. But the most important thing is to realize that it is the source of these spiritual values, spiritual qualities, and inspired ideas.
And that leads us right into then what's the purpose of our life?
Yes. And what is that?
To be a beneficial presence, right?
Yes.
To be the presence through which this divine mind, this divine love intelligence manifests.
Yes, is revealed into the world.
Yes.
So it's a benevolent consciousness, isn't it? Non-dual benevolent consciousness.
You know, when you get it, it really makes it easy, because there's a kind of letting go that happens, and life then flows. But there's also something about it that seems so hard.
Well, it's difficult because we don't see spiritual values with our physical eyes, you see. It's beyond our physical eyes. We could say we see it with the transcendent observer. That's one word for it. People speak of the third eye, or the spiritual eye. These are all different words to describe what it is in us that has that ability. And it's a marvelous thing that we seem to have this ability to understand things beyond what we can see and hear with our senses.
So is there more concepts that would be important to summarize now?
Yes, actually, the idea about thoughts, which we spoke about. The thoughts affect everything, and thoughts are the basic stuff of life. And our thoughts can either bring about a beneficial outcome, or they can be harmful to people. So we want to be very careful of our thoughts. And
so our thoughts are either in alignment, they're in harmony with this divine quality of life.
Yes.
that we are manifesting, or they're in disharmony with that, right?
Yes, yes. And then, of course, if they are in disharmony, then we need to heal them. Yes. So that leads to the two intelligent questions, which we spoke about as the two are a very unique method of healing that metapsychiatry offers. The first intelligent question being, what is the meaning of what seems to be, which refers to the thought that is manifesting itself in a particular experience. We said that those thoughts manifest first as ideas and concepts, and then as images, and then in the form of behavior and our emotions and moods, and then in the form of physical symptoms, which is difficult for people to grasp at first, but it's also very liberating and healing if we can understand it, or as we come to understand it, and then as our experiences. So it manifests in many different ways. And what
it goes all the way through from something completely non-material into actually what happens in our life.
Well, that's right.
And all the way through.
That's right. And so the second intelligent question is the application of that substance, that non-material substance, which is the healing aspect. So we always go from the first intelligent question to the second intelligent question, because the healing comes when we understand the answer to the second intelligent question.
So understanding our thought and how important that is, then what else?
Yes. Well, understanding that our thoughts come from our values and our perceptions. So we gave two roadmaps, actually, in the shows for values, so that we can understand exactly where we are in our unfolding life, exactly where we are going. It's very clear we're all going in the direction of spiritual values and away from the worldly values, which we don't, of course, criticize. We're just saying that they're dualistic, and we would like to move toward more toward the non-dual good in order to ensure a good outcome in our lives, and that we are beneficial presences. And then the other roadmap is the 7 levels of seeing, which gives us an understanding that we can move way beyond the first 2 levels, where we're just looking at life through our preconceived notions, all our beliefs, all our opinions, all our expectations, our judgments, all of those normal human things. We have so much more available to us. And to understand the importance of the faculty of spiritual discernment and of beholding, so that we actually can be attaining to our potential. That's the important thing, is that if no one points these out to us, then we cannot attain to our potential.
Well, you said something I think that's really important, that the value of this kind of discussion is in pointing out what's possible. And the challenge of this kind of discussion, I think, is that some people, I mean myself included, might say, okay, well, so let me get there. I want to jump from the level I'm at to the divine beholding kind of level. But that's not it at all. You know, we all want to do it. But there's no doing that can happen here. And this is something we need to understand, right? And so that the most important thing to begin this journey is that we become interested, that this excites us in a way, that this is interesting to us, that our eyes light up when we hear this information.
You're right. And so that leads to what the process is of coming to know. And it involves several things. It involves the study, which is what you've just articulated. We have to be introduced to the knowledge first and to become interested in it. And then we also need to learn about prayer and then meditation. So it's a combination of those things, and they're ongoing all the time. There's never a time when we cease to study. And there's never a time when we cease not to pray or to meditate. But it builds gradually over the years as we study. And the first thing to know about the study part is that we need a spiritual teaching of some sort. So whether it be, doesn't matter what it is, as long as it works. That's the criteria.
And we know it works because we have that Pagel experience.
We have the Pagel principle
we
to
have
guide
that
us.
sense happening that, oh, this has, I'm aware of the joy, I'm aware of spiritual values. In the presence, I'm in the presence of spiritual values as I'm approaching this. That's how we know that this is good.
That's right. That's right. So then, after the study, along with the study is prayer. So we would like to understand what prayer is. Prayer is I think, a very confusing word to many people. We've all grown up with certain ideas about it. Metapsychiatry defines it in a very different way. It says it's an endeavor to become aware of our at-one-ment with divine reality, our at-one-ment with God.
It's so peaceful, it's so beautiful.
Yes, to see it's an endeavor,
Yeah.
not something you do, not something you have to practice only in a church or a temple or, sacred building, but it's something that we take with us all the time. It's an endeavor.
It's a practice, in a way, of recognizing what really is.
Yes.
And recognizing who we really are.
Continually, as much as possible. Because again, when we're recognizing who we really are, then we're living in harmony with divine reality, and everything works well in our lives.
So does prayer, then, do we need that kind of quiet space, or do we need, what happens? Maybe give us some hints about how to get better at prayer.
Well, that's where meditation comes in, because you see, there's not too terribly much difference in metapsychiatry anyway, between prayer and meditation. Meditation is a way of becoming aware of what we are praying about. So we learn to be still in meditation, to become aware of Pagel, to see that Pagel is in consciousness, because Pagel is always there. It's just it's so covered up with our beliefs and our opinions and our preconceived notions that we are not aware of it. So it's inherent in all of us.
So that's a peeling away. You sit for a moment and then you can become aware of thoughts that are disturbing or in the way.
Yes.
They're like layers of things that we're thinking about that interfere with our ability to recognize what really is.
Yes.
So help us with that. So let's say I'm sitting down to meditate, okay? So then what happens? So then I'm sitting down and I'm being quiet. It says, I'm endeavoring to remember what really is and to experience Pagel. But there's this disturbing thought that's right there. There's this thing, I'm still upset at something someone said to me the other day. I'm angry at them, or I'm upset, I feel hurt by it. So then what?
Then it's a good idea to have some truth available to you that you can focus your attention on. So for example, you could say, God is love intelligence. Let me be aware of what love intelligence really is. Let me be aware of that power and presence in my life. So you would contemplate that idea And that would keep that restless mind from becoming too disturbed. So that would be a way in which we can practice meditation. And then you would say, well, now, I wasn't entertaining a very loving thought. I was disturbed about something. So we have a choice here. We can just say, well, all right, let me keep focusing on the truth, and that will establish Pegel. And then a divine idea might come to our attention, and that would heal that particular issue that we're speaking about or thinking about at that moment. Or we could go into the two intelligent questions. We could say, what does it mean that I'm entertaining this thought that's disturbing me? What does that mean?
So it would be recognizing, first of all, that I'm disturbed by this thought or something that happened the other day, which is a thought, how I'm holding that someone said something to me that was disturbing. And then rather than just sitting with that, saying, okay, what's behind this thought, or what's the meaning of this thought? Where does it come from in me? Or what else does it mean to me? And what's really true?
What is the thought? That's what you're really trying to find.
Mm-hmm.
What is that thought? Are you carrying resentment against someone? Are you angry at someone? What does that mean? Well, if you're carrying resentment, it means that you had an expectation and somebody didn't give you what you wanted. So is that the purpose of your life? This is what you would be saying in meditation. Is that the purpose of my life?
Yes, or I might be feeling like I disappointed them, and now they're not going to love me anymore, or some thought like that,
yes,
right?
Yes.
So I understand, I uncover that, I just sit with that and watch all of those realizations come to the surface.
The awareness of those thoughts coming to your attention.
Okay.
So that you really can see what you actually are thinking, because we deceive ourselves all the time.
Yes.
We pretend that we're not thinking these things. And this is, meditation gives us the way in which to actually confront what we're really thinking and to move beyond it, to transcend it. And then we apply the second intelligent question, and what really is, and then we find the spiritual counterfact to it. So that's another use that meditation has, especially for students of metapsychiatry. We appreciate this unique method of healing called the two intelligent questions, because it does enable healing to take place.
And it's true that once I recognize what I'm really thinking, all of a sudden there's some divine inspiration, or there's a new approach that has opened to the whole situation.
Yes, something amazing happens, isn't it?
It really does.
Just by being still. By being still and by being interested, we become receptive. So that ideas from the divine mind, which is the mind of our mind, right, they come to us. So we don't try to solve anything. We don't try to fix anything. We don't try to fix problems. We don't try to think of the answer. We just let divine mind bring it to us.
And that reminds us and adds explanation to that phrase of Dr. Horus, which is all problems are psychological and all solutions are spiritual. I mean, you really just outlined exactly what that process is.
What a wonderful principle to understand, because it does say there is a way out of suffering. There is a way out of the pain that I'm experiencing. If we understand that the solutions are always spiritual.
Right. And I think Einstein said something similar when he said you can never solve a problem at the same level at which it was created.
Yes.
Meaning that we have to go to another level of understanding before anything can be solved.
The ego cannot solve a problem the ego has created.
That's right, because it just kind of sticks us right there.
Yes, it doesn't know the answer.
It doesn't know it.
Because the answers come from a spiritual perspective.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that prayer is really the state of being aware of who we really are and what really is real.
Yes.
And meditation is a way to get there, is a way to practice that.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything more you want to say about that part of our how-to?
That isn't a how-to?
That isn't a how-to, the how-to that isn't a how-to.
It's a beautiful practice, and we need to cultivate awareness of it and interest in it in order to ensure that our lives proceed in a very beneficial way. Because that's what everybody wants. We all want to be happy. We all want to have our lives work out well. And we don't realize that this is the way to do that. And unless you take the time, you will never come to know, well, I can't say never, who am I to say that? But this is the way to find God. This is the way to know it as a direct personal experience in your life, or a direct realization in your life.
Well, that's what's so wonderful about it, I think, that what you're really saying is that if we can sit quietly for a few moments every day with the thought, with the recognition that the truth will be revealed to us. If we create a environment within ourselves that can receive it.
Yes, because it's already there, and all we have to learn to do is to let it.
Let it and allow the awareness to take over.
Yes, allow the awareness to grow more and more every day, so that the more we understand, the more, that is to say, of what reality really is, the more we are transformed. And the more we are transformed, the more we understand. And life just keeps getting better and better. As Dr. Hoare used to say, it goes from good to better.
And I had the experience the other day. I was just driving home from the grocery store, and I just recognized I was sort of spiraling into this depression, like, oh, you know, my life's not so good. What's going on? I sort of complaining thing. And I caught myself, says, wait, what are you thinking? What are you thinking? What's the thought? And I recognized what was happening was just a thought I was having. It wasn't reality. And I could immediately let the thought just vanish as I became aware of what was really true.
Yeah.
So something that simple, that tool, if you can call it that, or that awareness, was so healing just in that moment.
Isn't it amazing
It
how it
is.
works if we can become aware? That's the whole key, isn't it? To see ourselves as awarenesses rather than thinkers.
Yes.
Because the thinker gets in the way of awareness.
And would start to grind, oh, what's wrong? What do I have to do to fix it? And I could really spiral myself down into a cruddy day.
Easy to do.
Easy to do.
Yes. And one of the things that I love is the story that David Bohm tells, the physicist David Bohm tells about himself when he was struggling to understand something and he just couldn't find the answer. And he finally threw up his hands in disgust, apparently, and went for a walk. And while he was on the walk, the answer came to him. And it made him realize that there is so much more than thinking. And he articulated it in this following way. The dissolution of the thinker is the highest priority the seeker after truth must undertake.
Isn't that profound?
Isn't that beautiful?
Yes. That the way he said it, the way we think gets in the way.
Yes, our thinker gets in the way.
Yeah. Now, Ruth, we're coming to the end of this whole 9-part series. So I want you to spend a little bit of time talking about what is your hope for metapsychiatry in the world.
Well, I have to say I'm very grateful to have the opportunity to speak about with you some of the ideas, some of the healing ideas of metapsychiatry. As I know from 25 years of personal experience, the power of these ideas to heal individuals, to heal all kinds of problems. I see it on a daily basis, the healing of anger, the healing of anxiety and fear, the healing of grief and loneliness and depression, the healing of all kinds of physical symptoms and illnesses, headaches, migraines, backaches, chronic pain, colds, the flu.
So just on an individual basis, there's so much hopefulness for this.
Oh, absolutely. And that's what we need to do, is to get the teaching out more into the world, because people are so interested in it once they find it. And, you know, healing of relationships, healing of financial problems, healing of marriages, healing of parent issues. It's all there in metapsychiatry. It's just filled with beautiful, life-affirming, life-enhancing ideas to contemplate.
And then what does it do for the community? What else is your hope for the broader world?
Well, the more individuals are transformed by a spiritual teaching, of course, the better the world becomes. So it's not the other way around. Rather than trying to fix the world, what we need to do is fix ourselves, or be fixed by God. And that's what we're hoping for. And metapsychiatry gives us a new and refreshing worldview, which enables us to understand what God really is. It makes God more accessible, so that we can see there really is a power and a presence of love and intelligence that is working in our lives and affairs, and we're looking around for it and seeing it everywhere. That's the joy of living. So we come to that wonderful place where we say, like one of the psalmists, oh, it's not coming to my mind right now, but gratitude, Dr. Hoare often said, is what we really need to cultivate. And the more gratitude that we are able to be aware of, the more blessed our lives will be.
Isn't that wonderful?
So we can never be grateful enough. Gratitude is the door to joy.
Well, one of the things I wanted to remark about is that what I love about metapsychiatry is that it's not so much having to believe something that you don't realize right off, that you have to sort of trust in something. It actually has a very practical component in the sense of that it's about working with what is and watching it manifest in your life.
Yes, and I'm glad you brought that idea up, because it is not a belief system. It's just a way of seeing things that we can consider. It's not helpful to agree with it or disagree with it or to reject it or say, you know, this is no good, but just to consider the ideas and see and apply them in your life and see what happens. And then they bless you.
Well, on that note, Ruth, thank you. Thank you for doing this work and for being here for all of these wonderful programs we've done.
Thank you so very much, Nancy.
And thank you for listening. This is Nancy Rosanoff with The Listening Place saying bye for now.